And I ended up at the University of North Carolina, and I met Rich Tedeschi, who was the co-founder of this term, post-traumatic growth. Him and Lawrence Calhoun, two clinical psychologists at UNC Charlotte that had basically come up with this term in 1995, so 30 years before I even met him. And I was talking to Rich, and I was really intrigued by his research. Mostly what he had studied was families who had lost children to cancer. Now, it resonated a little bit with me. My mom died of cancer when she was 29. I was 7 years old. But the truth is, most of the people that I'm helping are people wearing camouflage uniforms. And unless that happened in your family, the stories don't resonate. So I said to Tedeschi, I said, well, if in fact I'm talking to military people, have you actually ever done any research on the military? He said, well, I did a little bit of work with the Army, but I actually, about 7 years ago, studied some prisoners of war from the Vietnam War. And I said, oh, now I'm really intrigued. I said, what'd you find out? And he said, 30% of Vietnam vets came home from war with PTSD. And he said, how many prisoners of war do you think came home? And I immediately said 100%. I didn't even take a breath. And he said, well, why'd you say that? And I said, well, I've been in combat. I've been to SEER School. SEER School is the school where they teach you how to behave if you're captured or how to try to escape so you don't get captured. And I said, I can't think of anything worse on the battlefield than getting captured and tortured. And these guys were in these prison camps for 3 months to 8 years, beaten, tortured, every bone in their body broken, starved. I mean, just a miserable life for a long, long period of time. So I said immediately, it's got to be 100%. And he said, no. So I started going down 90, 80. I get to 30, which was the same as the bigger force, and he holds up 4 fingers and says, no, it was 4%. And I said, how do you account for that? And he said, training. And now he had my attention because at the height of the war, my company trained about 45,000 soldiers going into combat. During my military career, I was an instructor. I know a little bit about training, and I wanted to really understand what he meant by that. And he started, the senior officer in the Hanoi Hilton in Vietnam in the prison camps was James Stockdale, who was a commander at the time, came home to become an admiral and a vice presidential candidate. And when he started talking about Stockdale's paradox and Stockdale's philosophy and how Stockdale trained these men to create hope in their lives and to really be able to come home and know that that experience would be the defining moment in their lives to make them a better version of themselves. And that's really what post-traumatic growth is all about. Now it's starting to resonate. And I'm thinking, well, I know about training. What if we could train people? And I said this to Tedeschi. I said, have you ever trained people how to achieve post-traumatic growth in their lives? I get it, you've researched the outcomes, but have you ever trained them? And he said, no, but I'm all ears and I'm willing to help. I think you're onto something. And that's what we did. We started this training program that's focused on teaching people how to live great lives.